Don't, I'd like for you to take just a moment to introduce yourself, and if you would tell us the name of your spouse and the name of your kids and their ages, if you don't mind. We can start anywhere. Let's start with you, Sandeep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on black mic. Okay. My name is Sandeep Shah. My wife Renee, and I have two children: Zachary, 22, and Zoe, 20.
All right. My name is. Am I right? My name is Keith Robinson, and my wife is Lydia. Hey, Lydia. All right. And I have 3 adults. So I'll start with my youngest. My youngest just turned 23. My middle one is about to turn 25 in a couple of weeks. And my oldest will be 36 in July. 36.
Well, my name is Jeff Dumo, and my wife Sonia is right there on the front row. And my oldest, Isabella's in Texas. She's 21. Josiah, 18, back there. And my beautiful daughter, Aaliyah, is 14.
My name is Brian Canet. My wife is Stephanie. My oldest daughter, Sierra, is 25. My other daughter, Taylor, is 22. And my youngest daughter, Bailey, is 20.
Thanks, guys. All right, so tell me, how old were you when you became a father?
I was 25.
25, all right. Jeff?
30 here.
30, all right.
24.
24. Sandeep?
34.
34, all right, so a lot of variety. What was one of the most surprising lessons that you learned? One of those first lessons where you're like, whoa, I didn't expect this.
For me, it was just how much you love your child. That was kind of shocking to me. You think you understand.
Yeah.
Then you have a child, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like overwhelming. And the sense of fear that you're responsible for that child. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
For me, it was recognizing that the Lord allowed me to be a part of His creative process. Mm-hmm. You know, I was actually helping to form this child, and that was incredible to me.
Yeah.
For me, it was 24/7 care. I've always been someone who loves kids, and when they cry, you give them back. But having your own, it was 24/7 work. It's harder for the mom, but it was also hard.
That's good.
I guess maybe it wasn't immediate, but it was like one of those things that after we started talking really was that if I said something and it benefited them, they remembered.
Very good. All right, this question's a little bit more difficult, a little more personal. Tell me about your relationship with your dad, and then how did that impact you as being a father? Jeff, why don't we start with you?
Well, my dad, he is a great man. He always demonstrated his love. He didn't necessarily verbalize it. So, he wasn't one to be super affectionate and like put me on his knee and, now son, and share his life with me in that way. But he just demonstrated by how he lived, how consistent he was. Mm-hmm. And he was a great man of integrity, still is. But he was very passive. And as I mentioned, he wasn't super expressive. And so that really shaped me. I didn't want to be that way with my kids. I wanted to demonstrate it like he did. But I wanted them to know without a doubt that they were loved, by me. And so I made it a conscious effort, at least I tried, to always let my kids know, I love you. Your dad loves you. You're important to me. We planned you. I planned you. I love you so much, and God loves you. So that was really important. But that passivity still kind of tries to reign in me, honestly. Like it tries to pull me back, and sometimes I'm silent or quiet about topics. So I wrestle with it a little bit, but I try to be as expressive in my love for them as possible.
That's great, Jeff. Thank you.
Sure. My father. Well, let me give you his occupation. My father was a Marine, right? And so that played a lot into how we dealt with each other. He was overseas a lot in his Vietnam era. He would go to Vietnam, a couple tours into Vietnam. And so I didn't see him. And there were times when he had actually come back from overseas, and I didn't know what to call him. right? To say, Pop, Dad? Yeah, I just didn't know. And so I think he did the best he could with what he had, at the time. But that affected me in the way that I am in my children's lives as much as I can. Yeah. So here in Bible class, with their sports, with everything, right? So and I got to give it to him as well. I mean, so when I was in high school, I ran cross country, one of the most boring sports to watch, right? So it's like, what are you gonna do? But it's like, even though I'm not, so the thing, and I'll let you talk. But I really don't like baseball. I really don't like soccer. What do my boys do? Right? Of course. And so now, so I wasn't, still not a soccer, a baseball fan, but I am my boys fan. And that's what I mean.
That's great line, Keith. Thank you. Yes,
So
indeed.
I always knew that my dad loved me and he provided for me, but he wasn't, we didn't do a lot of one-on-one things together. The first 7 years of my life, we grew up in a multi-generational family in India. And so it was, grandparents, several sets of parents, uncles, aunts, and lots of first cousins, brothers, sisters. And so even though I didn't do a lot of one-on-one things with my dad, I really thrived in a multi-generational environment. And I think being a parent, I value a lot in the kids knowing the grandparents, the cousins, having a church family. So, it really, my relationship with my dad kind of drove me toward really valuing multi-generational relationships.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sandeep. Brian?
Yeah, my dad too was in Vietnam, 2.5 tours. And he was a good dad. He did the best he could with what he had. But the areas that he lacked in are the areas I try to strive in as a father. Mm-hmm. But with that said, he also taught me structure, discipline, respect, work ethic, a lot of very good qualities. He just wasn't that good at the emotional part of it, was where he struggled. But in life, God puts other people in your life. My father-in-law is a good example of someone who's been able to show me those other aspects of a father over the years, and it's been a blessing. And it's funny how God works. I mean, he gives you what you want, but not always the way you want it, right? But if you pay attention and you look what's going on around you, he's working and he's providing for you, and he has done that for me in spades.
I really appreciate your vulnerability in answering that question, and what you brought out. As Rob mentioned, there's no perfect father, right, except God the Father. So part of our responsibility is to be able to identify the good that we gained from our upbringing, but then also change the things and not try to repeat them to the next generation. And your kids will have to do the same with you, and trying to not pass it on to the next one. But thank you. Tell me about one thing you're really glad that you did as a father.
Well, for me, I'd say probably look back over all the decisions I made with my children, the most beneficial one I made was introducing them to Christianity, making a decision to bring them to church and not just drop them off, because I know some parents have done that in the past, but to engage with them and go through the process. And that was 20 years ago. We started at this church, and it's been, not even arguably, it has absolutely been the most powerful influence in our lives in shaping who my children are today. Me as well, and that's, I couldn't be half the man I am now without the work I put into my faith. And I still fall short every day, but it's been the best thing for my kids, for sure.
Amen. Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Sandeep?
Something that
something you're really glad that you did.
I'm really glad that I read with the kids when they were young, and also got them involved in lots of church activities. Today Zoe, my daughter, still reads every day. She's just a avid Bible reader, and it shows kind of in her life. So those are some of the things that I am proud of as a father.
That's great. Thanks, Sandeep. All right, guys, I'm sorry, just for the sake of time, I'm going to change directions. Keith and Jeff, tell me one thing that you look back and you think, I wish I would have done that a little bit different.
Thinking back, so I met my wife, so people may not know, but she was born in Mexico, and I met her she was my tutor, my Spanish tutor.
Okay.
So the thing is that I wished we would have spoken more Spanish. Right? Don't kids.
That's good. Note to self, get a Spanish tutor. I mean, it sounds like that's where you meet the spouse. All right.
Well, when my kids were growing up, I was in tech, and I was a business owner. I went to seminary for a bit, and I was just always really, really busy. And while I played with my kids, I wish I would have been more present when I was around them. Sometimes my mind was just taken off, like I have to complete this task or this task or this task, and it was difficult. The balance was really difficult. So I wish I would have been, and I try to be now, more present when I'm with them and be in the moment. So yeah, I just wish that I played with them, was present and playing with them, praying with them, and praising with them. Yeah, it's something that I'd love to, if I had a do-over, I'd probably do.
Yeah, I think that's great, Joe. I think all of us have faced that tension, right, with the fast pace of life and all the responsibilities. One of the things that was said to me years ago, someone said, if you take 15 minutes, that only seems like a short period of time for you as a father, but a kid's sense of time, that feels like a long time. So don't sell yourself short as to what you can give. But we always want to be growing that as well. And so I appreciate you guys sharing those things. Let's say somebody's sitting out here and they're just looking for a piece of advice. Like, if I did this, I want to grow as a father. What advice would you give to them?
Never leave any doubt that they're loved.
Good. Okay.
Don't discipline in anger. That was one of my bad characteristics that I've had to learn. But don't discipline in anger. Quantity of time is actually important more than quality. People say, well, I'll just do a few quality. You can do that with a lot of things, but not with kids. Let's see, you never know when the teaching opportunity will arise. So, having a lot of more time, more opportunities. And of course, be involved in the community of believers and host. I traveled a lot in my job. Even when I wasn't traveling, I didn't come home a lot. And the reason my kids actually turned out okay is because they were so involved, in the community of believers. So that there was always, cousins, father figures, mother figures, grandparents.
So there's something I learned when my oldest was in high school, so it might have been a little bit late to capture this, but I learned it then, and I have two others that, one was 11 years younger than 13 years younger, but there was a trainer that taught me this, and it was like, say, from the years of 0 to 10, you manage your children. And then beyond that, you become advisors because they fire you as managers. Right? And if you learn that lesson, and it's because if you try to manage them when they want an advisor, you're lost. But you're still the adult. You're still the person to go to. But you're an advisor. That makes a lot of difference, and it made a lot of difference for me.
Some wisdom. Thank you, Keith. Jeff.
Well, if you're a father that is blessed to have a spouse, love your wife. Mm-hmm. Love your wife. Then they know how to Then they know how to treat a woman. How to love unconditionally, what a godly relationship looks like, how you make God the center of that relationship. They grow in confidence because they see they have a confidence in the love that their parents have and value. So I think loving your spouse is like critical. The other thing is they need tools. They need tools to navigate this life in this world. They need godly tools. So they need to see you, and I didn't do the best at this, but they need to see you in the Word. They need to see you with your Bible laid out, your study materials, so they can see what it looks like to walk in the ways of God, to study. They need to see you on your knees. They really need to see you outside of your prayer closet. They need to see you praying. Mm-hmm. I'll just share this little thought really quick, but my best friend called me and he said, after this service, he's a preacher. After the service, he always gets on his knees and he just prays. And he just did this again and again. One day, his oldest son, Lucas, came to him and said, "Dad, can I bow before the Lord with you? And he got on his knees and they prayed. Next week, he asked him again, Dad, can I bow down with you and pray with you? And he said, yes, son, yes. He goes, do you mind if I call my brother Judah and see if he wants to come? And so he went and he got Judah, and they all bowed before the Lord together. And it was because he modeled what it looks like to worship. And so those would be two big pieces of advice that I'd give to fathers.
Really good, Jeff. Yeah, I want to encourage all of our young fathers who have those kids under 10. That's prime time to model this in which they engage with you, because they are so looking to you as to what to do. And so if you're not in the habit of doing some of these things, talk to these guys for encouragement or others, but try to do that for your kids and in their presence. And Jeff, I really appreciate you bringing us back to that important point that making your marriage a priority is so important. It seems like we live in a culture in which it's maybe gotten a little bit off kilter, which the kids are now the focus of a couple, and they're out of the house, and then husband and wife are trying to figure out who are we and what do we do. And yeah, so very, very important point. Final question. What can we do as a church to support you as fathers?
Lead by example. When you look around at the other parents, I try to model myself after several influential men in this church over the years. And not because they were influential, they just happened to be because they did things right. They were connected with their faith, they walked in the ways of Jesus, and they modeled what it was like to be Christ-like. And you can see Christ-like character through all aspects of their life. Parenting is one of those. I believe it's the biggest blessing he gives us to be parents, and it's the biggest responsibility, and he holds us to a higher standard when it comes to parenting, more so than maybe anything else we do in our life. So when you look around and you find other men, and not just men but women, I've learned just as much or more from mothers on how to parent as I have from fathers. It's not about your gender, it's about how you do the job. Right. So I say just be examples, be an image that people look at and say, man, I want to be a mom like that. I just want to be a parent like that. I want my kids to turn out like that because I did the best I could, and if they don't, then you just say, hey, man, I did everything I can, but you got to do the best you can, and let God take the rest.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, and I would say that there are many, aspects of the church that are, the mentors, spiritual uncles, aunts, but definitely, after a certain age, I found that, my kids aren't interested in my opinion. And so having them connected, like my son, I could tell him, something 10 times, but somebody like Asa or Bob Stone could say something one time to them, and that becomes their, goal.
It's frustrating, isn't it, Sandy?
Actually, it's okay with me,
Yeah.
As long as the mentors are, more mature than me, I'm very happy about it. And it's a reality. And the number one aspect of the church that if I had to say in one word, protection. And there's so many things, teaching, mentorship, but protection. For me, I believe my kids were protected just because so many people in the church were watching out for them. So
that's good.
Yeah, I'd say for me is opportunities to connect with others, right? I mean, so our kids will come and go, whatever, and it's like they may not connect at some point in time, but there's the opportunity. It's available. There's the availability, and so that's it. And so also seeing others in the church family that are kind of share this kind of some of the same. That's good, right? And as some have gone through things that I'm going through, let's say, and I could talk to them. And some people are maybe going through some things that I've already gone through, and so it's all here.
Yeah, that's good, Keith.
I know we're short on time here, Sean, but just show us grace. I think the role of men right now is we're questioning, in society. I think is, and rightfully so. I think as men we've blown it in a lot of ways, and how we've treated women, how we've treated our children, or not treated them at times, but. We need grace, and we need prayer about what manhood looks like, what fatherhood looks like, And then just to echo some of the points here, yeah, we need the wisdom of those who've gone before us, you know. I think Brother Doc Bailey and Bob was mentioned, and Scott Pence, and others that have come before us. Feed us with advice and wisdom. And young fathers, go to older fathers and seek wisdom. But yeah, we need that mentorship always.
Gentlemen, thank you so much.